be moved.
I'd like to welcome everybody to Ironside Lunch and Learn. This week's Parashat is Parashat Matot Masa'Ay. It's a double header. It's also the completion of Sefer Bamidbar. We're going to start a new book next week, Devarim, which is the fifth out of the Chumash, the fifth and last one out of the Chumash, which means that we are in the home stretch of the year. And here comes Selichot, here comes Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, here comes the high holiday season. This week's Parashat Matot Masa'Ay talks about the war on Midian. Hashem gives Moshe instructions to go and seek revenge on Midian for what they've done to the Jewish people. Moshe appoints Pinchas, who's a Kohen, and 12,000 other Jews to go out to war. And this is very disproportionate. They were outnumbered, I don't know what the ratio is, but they were outnumbered by thousands and thousands. One soldier cannot take on thousands. It just wasn't working out that way, but it just goes to show you that when the Jewish people go to war, they don't need a mass army. They just need Hashem. In this week's parasha, Pinchas should not have been appointed to lead the army into war. He's not a war general, he's a Kohen. However, since he started the job with Zimri and Salu last week, if you remember, and the death of the 24,000, Moshe said, finish the job. And he went, and he was the one that single-handedly took care of the 5 kings and Bilam. 5 kings and Bilam. Interesting story over there. Bilam uses some secret sorcery and he made them float in the air. And he started to run away from Pinchas as well by flying away. Pinchas also knew a special name of Hashem and also floated in the air and was able to get him with a sword that had 2 snakes on it, one on each side. They say that the symbolism over there is that he came to get us with his mouth. Right? We came to get him with the sword, because that's the symbol of his nation. Not only that, he was following the ways of the serpent, the ways of the Yetzer Hara. So the sword that killed him also had 2 serpents on both sides. They say over there that in the parasha that it was elef lamateh. Each tribe had 1,000 people, and then it repeats it, elef lamateh, and each tribe had 1,000 people. So I looked a little bit into it, and I found several midrashim. One from Me'am Loez that says it was 1,000 people that went to war, from each tribe that is, and 1,000 people watched what came to war with them, which was the Aron HaKodesh, the Ark, Kle Kodesh, he had all these holy vessels with them, the Chatzotzot, and they would stand there protecting that. And Me'am Loez says, took it even further and says that there were 1,000 people in the yeshiva studying as well. So 1,000 people studying, 1,000 people protecting the ark, and 1,000 people fighting. Now, as you know, typically Jews were not warriors, but this is a spiritual war. These are holy people that when somebody's standing in front of them, they can make anything happen. Now, similarly,
warriors.
Huh?
We've always been warriors.
Right, but our strength was not the physical strength; it was our spiritual strength.
It's physical is an aspect of your mental strength, and we're strong mentally, and we obviously be strong.
Great point. Great point. Today there's a similar topic in Israel. They don't want the yeshiva boys to be studying. They want them to go to war. They want to go to the army. And it's a whole big conflict over there. But what they fail to see is that the success of the Jewish army is actually tied in to the Jewish people being in the yeshiva and studying. It's all tied into it. Moshe Rabbeinu shows it to us in this week's parasha. However, that was just a little bit of a catching you up on what's going on in this week's parasha. But the real chidush that I'd like to go into today is about the 2.5 tribes of Reuven, Gad, Bechatzi, Menashe. Many things have been said about this situation over here where the Jewish people are right at the border of Eretz Yisrael. They're right by the Jordan. They're about to enter Eretz Yisrael. And Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe opt out. They're like, hey, we'll stay on this side. We got tons of cattle and livestock, and we would like to actually stay over here. There's greener pastures. There's better grass over here. It's better for our cattle. And many different drashot have been said. Even during this week, we said many different things. But I'd like to say something new, something completely different. Welcome. About this scenario of Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe opting out of getting into Eretz Yisrael. So it says over there that the Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe come to Moshe, Vayikshu elav, Vayomru. They go over to Moshe and they tell him, Gederot tzon nivneh, we will build like these fences for our cattle, for our sheep, for our cows, for whatever livestock we have. Gederot tzon nivneh lemiknenu po, ve'arim letapenu. And we'll build these cities for our families and for our children. Now, this was followed by a very, very strong rebuke by Moshe Rabbeinu. How could you? How could you not want to come to Eretz Yisrael? How can you not, he goes there extensively in giving them the history of the Jewish nation, what they've gone through, and now that you're at the doorstep of Eretz Yisrael, you're saying this? And they came to an agreement that actually what they're going to do is that they're going to go into Eretz Yisrael, they're going to fight the war for 7 years with the people that are living in the land. They're going to take another 7 years to split up the land, and then they'll go back to their family on the other side of the Jordan. However, when Moshe came back to them, after acquiescing their request, he began with a different way of giving them the okay. Moshe says, B'nu lachem arim v'gderot letzoncho v'yitzem pitchem ta'asu. He says to them, yes, B'nu lachem arim letapechem, build cities for your families, v'gderot letzonechem, and then build all these fences or all these housing or barns or stables for your cattle. V'yitzem pitchem ta'asu, and keep to your word. Stick to your word. Okay. What's the difference over here? This is what we'd like to zoom in on. Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe came and said, Moshe, we would first like to build a place for our livestock, and then we'll build cities for our children. What's wrong over here? For them, what's most important was the business. What was most important for them is that they have their business taken care of. Keep in mind, what was business back in the days? Livestock. The more livestock you had, the more cattle, the more sheep, the more goats, the richer you were. So Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe tell them, this is important for us, let's set it up. And once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and we'll build cities for our families and children. Moshe comes back and he tells them, Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe, excuse me, you got it all wrong. Benu lachem arim letapechem. First build the cities and homes for your family and children. And then v'gderot letzonechem. And then you're going to build the fences and housing for your cattle. What's going on over here? Well, it's the old age battle of family versus business. You'll find it everywhere. Every home that you go into, or some homes that you go into, the father is too busy. Why? Work. What about the kids? The kids, how the kids going to eat, how they're going to get dressed, how they're going to have everything that they need if we don't have money. Kids on the back burner. Right now, business. Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, wrong. Jews, families first. That's the message here. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, family first. Your business is actually only a tool. Parnasah ze meshamayim. Your parnasah comes from God. The business that you're in is the tool God is using to give you the parnasah. People have it mixed up. They think that if they don't marry that business and they babysit it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're not going to make it. However, we know that the business is not the source of the parnasah. Hashem is the source of the parnasah. It's just a vessel that He's using for it. Like we said, Parashat Matot, and we were speaking about the high holiday season coming up. There's a famous saying in the Gemara that says, Mi Tishrei ad Tishrei chutz mi Tishrei. What does it mean? It says, from Tishrei, that's the month that we have all the holidays, until the next Tishrei, in other words, a whole year's worth, chutz mi Tishrei, except for the word Tishrei, is all decided then. What does it mean? What you're going to make on any given year is decided in Rosh Hashanah. Done. If you're supposed to make $100,000 or $1 million, it's decided on that day. No matter what you do, you work you burn the midnight oil for 360 days, or you work 150 days, it all depends on your level of emunah and Hashem. You're still going to make the same amount of money. It's been decided. What's chutz mi Tishrei? What does it mean except for Tishrei? Because Tishrei is the name of the month. So they say that Tishrei stands for Torah, Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Yom Tov. Anything that you spend on Torah, such as tzitzit, books, donations to shuls, anything that you spend on Torah, anything that you spend on Shabbat, everything that you spend on it, everything that you spend on Rosh Chodesh, meals, the special dress that you wear, and anything that you spend on Yom Tov, that's not included in that million. In other words, let's just say you're supposed to make $1 million that year, and you went and you spent an extra $100,000 honoring Torah, Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Yom Tov. That $100,000 is coming back. That's not included in your thing. Chutz mi Tishrei. So now, if everything's already been decided, what's all these all these extra hours, all this overtime? Don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for all of it. There's times when you have to stay at work till midnight. There's times when you have to work 6 days a week. But not the entire year. Those are special times. Those are unique moments. And that all depends on what's going on with certain projects and certain moments in life. But if that's your everyday life, you have to know you're on the wrong track. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us, family first. Benu lachem ma'arem letapechem. Don't get it mixed up. Your children is what's most important. V'gderot letzochem, and business second. Now, what's the pros and cons of being a family man or being a businessman? Now, we all know that the secret to life is balance. Not too little of this and not too much of that. A balance in life, that's the secret to life. The spice of life is balance. You want to really experience life the right way, you have to do a little bit of everything. Not too much of one and not too little of the other. So what's the pros and cons between being a businessman and a family man, a person who has an imbalance? It's either or. All business or all family. What's the pros and cons? Well, if you're a family man, you have connection with your kids. Anybody who's a family man and has children and spends time with them knows that children are precious. And kids are gifts. And time flies. And when you have children and you're missing their first smile, their first steps, when they're starting to read, when they're starting to make jokes, when they're starting to hit all their milestones in life, and you're not there for it, you're not going to get connected. But if you're there to witness your child go through those things, what a bond, what a connection, what a feeling. It has no value. It's priceless. Most people won't trade that in for any amount of money. Anyone who's living within the home and sees his children going through the growing stages of life, it's a beautiful thing. You're also performing the mitzvah chinuch. Chinuch, you are obligated to teach your children. You are obligated to educate them. It's a mitzvah. And we say it in Shema, v'dibarta bam, v'shinanta lebanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shinanta lebanecha v'dibarta bam. It's your job to start talking to your children and teaching them Torah. It's your job. When does it start? As early as you can. Typically, say 3 years old when you can start teaching them Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Parashat Kilat Yaakov. But the job starts real early, and it's fun, and it's good. There's nothing like teaching your kid to say a bracha, or to have him put a tzitzit, or to sing a song. Those early stages are precious, let alone when they get older. So you perform the mitzvot of chinuch. You have a presence in the home. You're present in the home. So when Abba's walking around, or when Ima's walking around, they feel you. You're not some visiting stranger that they only see on the weekends, or when you're in between business trips. It's a different feeling when Abba's walking through the house. You're involved in almost every decision in the house. And as a matter of fact, there's a Masechet Kiddushin that speaks a little bit about the father's obligation to his children. I will visit that in a second. Actually, no, let's continue right now. Look at Masechet Kiddushin in Perek Chavtet. I'm sorry, in Daf Chavtet, on the 29th page on the first side says, what is a father's obligation to his children? Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis teach us. Ha'av chayav bivno, the father is obligated for several things with his son. Lemulo, to circumcise him. Velifduto, if he's the firstborn from the mother and he's her first child. There's pidyon haben that we do after 30 days. The father is obligated to do that. Velelamedo Torah, you must teach him Torah. Velasio isha, and you have to marry him off. Velelamdo omanut, and you must teach him a trade. You must teach him a skill. You must teach him how to make money. Veyesh omrim, and there's some that say, afla shito b'mayim. You have to teach him how to swim. How interesting is that? See, a father's obligated to circumcise him. That's easy. 8 years old, who doesn't do the Brit Milah? To do Pidyon Haben, another party in 30 days. Easy, not a problem. L'lamdot Torah, up, there's a first stop sign. That's where people start to fail. L'lamdot Torah, when he goes to school, you know what, I'm not so religious myself. The Gemara is telling you it's your obligation. Question goes, here's a little trick question. If you only have enough money to hire a rabbi to teach either your kid Torah or to teach you Torah, where does the money go?
Father, kid.
Father. Kid. 50-50. The father is the answer. You know why? You can give all the money in the world to have somebody else teach your son. If he sees the father not keeping, he's not going to keep anything. It's better that the father teach himself and be an example to the child, rather than send it to somebody else so he can teach him. So Lamdot Torah, it's an important concept, everyone on their level. We're not saying that, every person here is, there's some people that are put on their kippah just before they go to shul. There's some people that just pray on Shabbat. There's some people that pray the entire week. There's some people that have their peot and their garb completely different. It's levels. But wherever level you're holding on, turn your son onto it also. So if it's just Shabbat, it's just Shabbat. If it's just praise, it's just praise. If it's just holiday, just holiday. But do it. Whatever level you're on, it's very important. Lasio Isha, it's very important that a father is concerned about his son and being married. Nowadays, there's an epidemic. Not nowadays, 20 years, 40. It's been going on for almost close to 40 years now, maybe, where the parents have had a lax attitude about their children. Let them live. Let them do what they do. Let them figure things out for themselves. Let them live life. They live life. They definitely live life. They live life into their 30s and into their 40s, some into their 50s, and they still haven't gotten married. That's not what the Gemara is telling us. The Gemara is telling us when your son comes of age, and the Gemara's age is 18. Could you imagine? Okay, but let's just say we'll push it off a little bit. Mid-20s. It's the father's, obligation to get that son on that track of a family life. Why? Because a person who's at that age in his 20s and is not in the family life, believe me, he's going to fall in a lot of different things. It's the nature of man. Not everyone has an ironclad personality that they can hold themselves to be righteous when they're single. The right move is to get them married and start that beautiful new page of life of family. Now, the Rabbi Yehuda Omer, I'll just continue a little bit more about this Gemara. It says over here, Kol she'eno melamedet beno umanut, whoever doesn't teach his son a skill or a trade or a job, melamdo listot, he's teaching him how to stray from the ways of Hashem, to stray from the right track. And they say, Rashi explains, what do you mean listot? What do you mean stray away from the track? It says that if you don't teach him a trade, he's not going to have money. He's going to be broke. He's not going to be able to support himself. And then what does he do? He goes, hangs out in the street. What happens to people that hang out in the street? We all know what happens in the street. You meet certain kind of people. You're exposed to certain types of thinking, certain types of things that are happening. So you don't want to do that. So you see that as a family man, you have obligations. Let's go back to that businessman. The one who's disconnected from the family, or just not spending as much time. Where the business is his number one priority, not the family. So we said, the bad thing about that, they typically have no connection with their family. Their only connection is the $100 bill they put for them on the nightstand, or the Nintendo game that they bought, or the new clothes that they got them, or the new car that they got them. They have to fill the void of the time that was missed, and they fill that with materialism. They have to give the kid something in order to feel, look what Abba gave me. But the kid doesn't want that. Most of the time you'd be surprised, even though that they're asking for that toy, even though that they're asking for that car, even though they're asking for that materialistic thing, what they really want is the father's heart. They want the emotions. They are also trying to replace that void with something. They're following the father's footsteps. And typically those types of relationships produce children that are connected to materialism. Because they didn't feel the love, they have to fill that love with what his father filled that love with. In other words, I'm not around for a week, here's a Game Boy. I'm not around for a month, here's a car. So when he's on his own and gets older, he's like, you know what, whenever I felt sad, my father made me happy through buying me things. Let me buy myself things and become a materialistic person. You become an absentee father. Now, typically we're not all those type of people. You know, I don't know too many people that are traveling so much, traveling salesmen, that they don't see their family often. But I know that there's fathers that typically don't see their children in the morning because either they leave early, some people leave early to study or to pray, so they don't get a chance to see their children in the morning. And then at night, you know, bedtime is 6, 7. And the father comes home 8:30, 9. So even though you're still around, you're not traveling, you're still here in Florida, you're actually possibly in the same neighborhood, but you're just out before they wake up and before they go to sleep. And what happens? They don't see you. So they see you on Shabbat, maybe they see you on Sunday. Sharone says, give more importance to the family. Try to work on a better schedule where you have a presence in the house. Anyways, everything that's coming to you is coming to you. You having to put in all the extra hours, that's you are putting that into the equation. It's not really what needs to be done. You have to understand that the purpose to life is not to work and pay bills. It's not what we came here for. We didn't come here so we can wake up in the morning, work, stress out, make a living, pay the bills, repeat. It's not what we're here for. Especially not as Jews. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you accept this concept or not, whether you're living out this concept or not, but we are here to gain entry into Olam Haba. In other words, after this world, there's another world. Sounds freaky a little bit, right? That's what it is. There's Olam Haba. And they say that this is the hallway to the Praktin. This is the hallway to the next world. Hashem gave us a short period of time. Bezat Hashem, everyone can live to 120 to do this whole Pick me up 613 Aaron that I gave you, 613 mitzvot. Pick them up along the way. And the way you perform in this hallway deciphers what's going to be in the big hall when you enter it. That's our tachlit. That's what the purpose of life. We are here to gain entry to Olam Haba. Who's living life like that? Do you wake up in the morning and say, how do I gain my Olam Haba today? Fortunately, there are some Jews that are like that, and God bless them, and Be'ezat Hashem, may we be like them one day. But there's a large portion of the Jewish population that is not living that reality. We are not waking up in the morning and saying, where's my Olam Haba, and what am I doing today to gain entry to Olam Haba? We're not. Sometimes you have to press reset on what Jewish values are to really know. What kind of a Jew am I? Do I even know how to be a Jew? Lately, in the past few weeks, I've been studying a book, How to Raise Children. It's a very famous book. It's by Rabbi Shlomo Walba. He had some very, very interesting concepts I'd like to share with you. For all of you that have children, Hashem, God bless, apply it. For all of you that are Be'ezat Hashem soon will get married and have children, keep this in mind. There's nothing like starting it the right way. Certain people that have children already ruined it. They took the wrong path, and now they have to press reset and try a different way to get there. There's nothing like starting something from the get-go the right way. And for the single guys, you guys have that option. You can get married and do it the right way, instead of just winging it and then eventually, it's not working out. Let me read a book, try to fix it. So there's two things over here. You can learn and better what's going on right now, or you can prepare yourself for that wonderful moment in life when you do have children and education becomes part of your everyday life. Rabbi Shlomo Walba says something very, very interesting. We were just talking right now about how important education is, how important it is to educate our children. The rabbi tells us that praying for your children is more important than education. I'll say it again. Praying for your children, in other words, you walk into an Amidah and you say, I'm praying for my child to be healthy and to be a tzaddik and to learn Torah and to be in the derech of Hashem, is more important than educating them. Look at the power of prayer. We spoke about it many times in this class and many different places, that we don't know the power of prayer. It's actually what was left for our generation. Hashem left the power of prayer to this generation more than any other. So I want you to know that praying for your children and for their outcome has more power than the actual education. That was mind-blowing for me. Now, the kids also, when they say, yeah, it's my kid, that's not true. He's not your kid. Kids are not ours. They're not. It's Hashem agreed to partner up with us. Hashem says, you and your wife are worthy right now to be partners with me on a soul. I'm going to deposit a soul with you guys, and when the job is done, I'm going to take back that soul, and the body goes to the ground. It's a different way of thinking. Most people think when they have a kid, I control and you do as I say, you do what I tell you. Hey, this is God's child. It's His child. The fact that He gave you His child for the time that He's here in this world to watch over him, that means He's expressing His trust in you. Hashem is expressing His trust in you with a child. Great. It's a temporary deposit. He wants you to hand it back to Him the right way. Now, while this temporary deposit is with you, while your child is with you, and you get to benefit from the love and from the experiences and all the adventures of being a parent and raising a child, your job, since you've been entrusted, is to input Torah into that child. That's your job. Just like it's your job to learn Torah, when you have a child, it's your job to input Torah into that child. And the ultimate outcome is to produce a self-motivated child In other words, the goal is to produce a self-motivated child. The Torah gives you that. The product of a child that is raised by Torah, it's a self-motivated individual. Eventually, you don't have to babysit them. They'll run themselves because they know that Hashem is running the world. They're not connected to people as much as they're connected to God. I'll give you an example between raising kids in a secular way and raising kids in a religious way. Typically, we're not going to generalize because it's not like that. There's some secular kids that come out amazing and had nothing to do with religion. And I don't know how to explain that. I can only tell you that it's possible. But I'm going on the majority. Let's go on the majority, not on the unique cases in this world. Even if you don't have children, walk into a shul on any given Shabbat, you can see the product of the parenting with the kids walking around. And take a look. Secular children typically lack direction. They're a little bit misguided because there's no spirituality. And I'll explain that. Many kids are left to their own vices. In other words, the parents have this whole mentality. Let them be kids. Let them play. Let them do what they want. When they grow up, I'll implement some laws. Right now, let them just be wild. Let them be kids. Typically what happens when you let go of the reins, when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, when they're 10, 11, 12, it's not a horse that you can buck, that you can bring in. It's a wild horse that's going to buck you. Anytime you're going to chase something, they'll throw you off. The most impressionable years of a child is 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because in a secular home, what's raising the children? 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% parents, and the rest is TV, Hollywood, internet. Whatever they see online, whatever they see on the television, and whatever movies they watch, forms them more than their parents, forms their identity, their way of thinking, and it programs them in a certain way, and they become part of the mass. They have like this mass of people, the way that the masses think. And typically, who's online, who's on the internet, who's online, who's on TV, and who's on Hollywood, that's all a Goyish mentality. There's nothing Jewish there. We go into a religious home, there's direction. There's definitely direction in a religious home. What do you do before you eat? You say thank you to Hashem, you bless. Why do you have a kippah on your head? Because I'm respecting Hashem who's over me. They know what's going on. At a young age, they already know. Why are you putting tzitzit? To remind you of the mitzvot. At a young age, they already know that there's a holiday. Go into a religious home on Shabbat. Is this allowed? Is this allowed? Is this muktzeh? Is this not muktzeh? Take a religious kid into a candy store. You know what they'll do? They'll pick the most delicious candy, and they won't say, I want this, Abba, I want this, Abba, I want this, Abba, give it for me now, give it for me now. No. A religious kid looking at it like, Abba, is this kosher? No. You know what it takes for a 3-year-old to put down a lollipop that he's drooling for because it's not kosher? It's a gift. It's something unbelievable. But that's what happens in a religious environment. They're guided. Hashem is part of their everyday. God is part of their everyday. You hear a kid at 3 years old saying, Baruch Hashem, have a Yom Tov. I'm going to tell you something. I've been around both. I've been raised in both ways also. And I want to tell you something. As a parent today, there is no other way to go but the religious way. Regardless of what the level is. We're not talking about do peot, shave your head and wear a black strimer. We're not talking about that. But put God into your life, your kids will be an unbelievable product. There's no question. Because with direction, they have a chance to fulfill their tikkun. And with direction, at a very, very young, tender age, they already know what their tachlit is. That's Torah, mitzvot, and maasim tovim. And typically, any person who's living with Torah, mitzvot, and maasim tovim is a good product in Hashem's eyes. We are right now in our 20s, and 30s, 40s, 50s. What do we know? Sometimes we look back like, been on the wrong path. You know? I know that the right path is God. There's no question. It's the truth. Anybody who appreciates truth, emet, knows that God is the way. So sometimes you look back and I wasn't on the path of emet. But what about if you have a chance now to have your children go on a road? What are you going to tell them? Take my road, come. How'd it work out for you? Why don't you tell them? Take the road of Hashem. I'm telling you it's better. There's nothing like putting your own children in the ways of Hashem. It's actually a mitzvah. Be'ezat Hashem, that we marry to have good children that will be on the path of Hashem, and that we live life taking the advice of Moshe Rabbeinu. B'nu lachem arim letapechem. First take care of the family and children, and then take care of the business. Have a great rest of the day and a Shabbat Shalom.
Sure, you like water with ice or without ice?
With ice.